Hello out there to everybody in YouTube land. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever it is, wherever you are. Glad to have all my peeps in the chat room that I've been aggravating this morning. My lurkers out there that like to watch this and just lay in the background, and my Memorex viewers that like to watch it later after they get out of bed or whatever they've been doing. Glad to have everybody with me today. Beautiful day in Indiana today. Sun is shining, little bitty breeze blowing out there. It's a nice warm morning. It's up in the 70s already today. I think it's going to warm up into the 80s. And those days are going to be few and far between, I do believe, from here on out until we get to next summer. But we'll enjoy them while we've got the opportunity. Lots of news going on. And the first one we're going to start with is the weather. My goodness gracious, we got WashingtonPost.com talking about that Hurricane Matthew down in Florida. And governor has ordered 1.5 million people to evacuate down there. I think state of Florida is going to be sparse for folks for the next few days. I'm waiting for the little hamster to catch up here in the computer that runs the wheel that brings the brings the websites up. Run, little feller. Okay, it says Hurricane Matthew intensifies to a Category 4 storm as Florida governor orders 1.5 million to evacuate. Storm system to threaten the United States in a decade roared toward landfall with Florida on Thursday. Of thousands to flee their homes as deadly hurricane took direct aim at Florida Atlantic shores and threatened further damage. Hurricane Matthew tore through Haiti this week, causing at least 65 deaths. There are more elsewhere before moving on and heading to Florida. While the storm had by Thursday morning, it strengthened again and surged to a Category 4 hurricane with maximum sustained winds near 140 miles an hour. Forecasters said it will likely remain a Category 4 hurricane as it approaches Florida coast. In Florida, all eyes looked east as the storm slowly approached. Initial rain bands began to reach South Florida on Thursday morning, and Matthew is expected to strafing the state late Thursday and grind its way north on Friday. According to the National Hurricane Center, by early Saturday, hurricane conditions could extend into Georgia and South Carolina, the center forecasts. More than 1.5 million Floridians live in evacuation zones, according to Governor Rick Scott, Republican. Late Wednesday, Scott asked President Obama to declare a federal emergency in Florida due to the storm's potential to bring devastating impacts to millions of Floridians. In total, more than 2 million people were under evacuation orders from Florida to South Carolina. Scott has declared a state of emergency in Florida, as have his counterparts in Georgia, South Carolina, and North Carolina, and across the state, residents hunkered down as storm approached. Residents in evacuation areas to leave as soon as possible, using increasingly grim and blunt language in describing the danger posed by the storm. This is serious, Scott said in a news briefing Thursday morning. This storm will kill you. Time is running out. Schools closed their doors and campuses, universities rescheduled football games and other events. Government offices shuttered for the rest of the week. More than 1,000 flights scheduled to travel through the state. Floridians either fled their homes or huddled with supplies after making the customary last-minute trips for bottled water, bread, and peanut butter. Batteries were gathered, plywood erected, and throughout the state. Some people headed to safer ground with friends or family in safer structures, while others planned hurricane parties to spend the hours on lockdown. Scott also activated 1,500 Florida National Guard members with the other 5,000 ready to be deployed as needed. Get out now if you are in the area with evacuations, Scott said in a statement. He added, if you make a decision not to leave before the storm, we cannot send someone to save you because you made a bad decision. Don't wait until you lose power. You need to leave before it's too late. Or similarly, foreboding and issuing dire warnings for what they called a life-threatening storm, the first major hurricane to hit the United States since Wilma in 2005. Hurricane Hermine slammed into Florida's Gulf Coast before quickly being downgraded to a tropical storm. The National Weather Service said gusting winds could have possible devastating impacts on eastern coast of central Florida and outlined possible consequences: structural damage to sturdy buildings with complete roof and wall failures, complete destruction of mobile homes, damage may greatly accentuated by airborne projectiles. And in the most ominous suggestion of how long Matthew's impact could be felt, locations may be uninhabitable for weeks or months. As people flooded the roads to get out of town, air travel was severely restricted by the looming storm. American Airlines canceled all flights Thursday through the 3 South Florida airports in Miami, Fort Lauderdale, and West Palm Beach, as well as flights through Orlando's airport after 5:30 p.m. Blue and American Airlines all announced waivers allowing people to change flights traveling through the Southeast, Bahamas, and the Caribbean. Airlines canceled more than 1,400 flights, though the United States or through the United States on Thursday, the overwhelming majority of them scheduled to go through airports in Miami, Fort Lauderdale, West Palm Beach, and Orlando. Florida prepared for the country's first brush with Matthew. Other states were also getting ready for the storm to rake across their communities. South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley, Republican, evacuated Charleston and Beaufort counties, home to more than 500,000 people, and said other evacuations were going to follow Thursday. She also stressed that those who ignore the evacuation orders could wind up putting others at risk. For those of you that are wondering whether you should leave or not, I again will tell you that if you do not leave, you are putting a law enforcement officer or National Guardsman's life on the line when they have to go back and get you. Authorities in South Carolina said a driver there was shot and killed by sheriff's deputies after confrontation along evacuation route. According to the Associated Press, police said the driver knocked down traffic cones at the checkpoint and drove off, and when sheriff deputies caught up with him, he began shooting at deputies who returned fire. None of the deputies were injured, but 4 have been placed on leave. And there is a picture in this of grocery store aisle that has been picked clean in Hollywood, Florida. Reminds you of the pictures out of Venezuela. Georgia Governor Nathan Deal, Republican, declared an emergency in 13 of the state's coastal communities, warning that the storm's impact there could render travel essentially impossible in much of that area. North Carolina Governor Pat McCrory, Republican, also declared an emergency in 66 counties in the eastern and central parts of the state, where residents are still recovering from heavy flooding just last month. Obama scrapped 2 planned events in Florida on Wednesday and visited Federal Emergency Management Agency's headquarters in Washington for a hurricane briefing instead. He urged residents to be ready and pay attention to warnings from authorities. I want to make sure that everybody is paying attention to your local officials, he said during remarks after his briefing. If there is an evacuation order in your community, you need to take it seriously. Even if you don't get full force of the hurricane, we are still going to be seeing tropical force winds, the potential for storm surge, and all of that could have devastating effects. Florida International University and Miami University of Central Florida and Orlando canceled classes, as did schools as far north as University of South Carolina in Columbia and College of Charleston. Central Florida also postponed a scheduled football game against Tulane, while other major games scheduled over the weekend in Columbia, Miami, and Gainesville, Florida remain tentative on the calendar as planned. Other mainstays of Florida life warily eyed the storm. Walt Disney World said it was operating under normal conditions, but canceled a Halloween event for Thursday. The Floridians ready for the storm are a mix of veterans who have and who's unaccustomed to the routines of amassing canned soup, plywood, and flashlights. People who headed out to prepare found grocery aisles scraped clean of water and long lines at their local Home Depot. At a Home Depot near Sterling Road in Hollywood, 2 employees secured 7 sturdy pieces of plywood to the roof of a black Hyundai sedan. It took us about 3 hours to get in and out, Alex Scansey said outside a Home Depot in Hollywood while two employees secured plywood to the roof of his black Hyundai. We had just moved to South Florida when Hurricane Wilma hit in 2005. We weren't prepared. This time, we're almost prepared. Jordan Guadalupe, an 18-year-old juice maker, said he had lived in South Florida when Wilma hit and called that storm devastating. On Wednesday, even as his family in Lauderdale by the sea put up shutters and bought sandbags, Guadalupe was worried about finding other supplies. We're right by the ocean, he said. Well, they might be right by the ocean now, but they may be in the ocean in another 24 hours. Holy smoke. Thoughts and prayers and well wishes go to all them folks. I hope they're smart enough to get out of there. All right, the next one that we have off of Rick Wells, U.S., and I've got another one here on the same subject, and it's about hacked Clinton Foundation documents. It says Goosefer 2.0, one call pay to play. They have a whole list here in this of, Lord have mercy, amount of TARP funds, and I mean it is in billions of dollars. Wow. I mean, all these URLs are in the description of the video if you want to take a look at some of this stuff. But man, this will just blow your mind. Goosefer 2.0 documents are coming. Some are already out and more on the way, perhaps filling the void that Julian Assange has left in the delay of WikiLeaks releases. His target in this release was Clinton Foundation computer system. He has released screenshots that he says came from Clinton Foundation computer. There's actually a folder labeled pay to play. An unusually honest moment for an organization built on lies and misrepresentation. I can't make this stuff up. Included in the information is a list of donors. Recipients in one list are tracked by the amount of TARP that was returned to Clintons in the form of donations after our treasury was raided and our money redistributed to government insiders and cronies. The reported quotes, Goosefer 2.0, is stated as and thousands of pages and database of donors. There is so much information that Goosefer 2.0 says he is overwhelmed and looked for new ways to release it. He also stated that it was not difficult to break into Clinton's system, that it was only a matter of time as security was minimal. That's a consistent thing with Clinton's and the computer system she's involved with, and that of insufficient protection of data. Foundation denies that their servers were breached, but as the next guest, Mike Jones, the editor of Culture Wars magazine, states, there is so much information that corroborates what 2.0 said, it really doesn't matter whether it's true or not. We have all the information that's come out in other sources. He notes the Clinton Foundation is a public entity. We know that people contribute to it. It makes sense to say that every corporation that got money from the bailout would obviously want to make contribution to the party that gave them all that money. He points out the crucial issue is whether the people have any say in democratic control of their political process or of their culture. That's the issue. Between this cronyism, this conflict of interest, a legal system that is constantly overturning state laws, what you have here is a crisis. And there's a video in this. If you want to watch the video at your leisure, it's there. And I'm going to move on to the next one. This one says libertyridersnews.com. It says Clinton Foundation hacked Hillary doesn't want you to see, just leaked. And this is the Goosefer thing again. Just another article on it. To catch up to me here. Poor little thing. It's only got 3 legs. 1 brain cell. It's on life support. Okay, I think it's about to come up here. All right. This says, urgent. Clinton Foundation hacked. Hillary doesn't want you to see what just leaked. Goosefer 2.0 has just released documents that were hacked from the Clinton Foundation. He just tweeted this information out an hour ago. We need to get this out to every single patriot out there. And then I have to scroll down here. Let's see. Many of you have been waiting for this. Some even asked me to do it. So this is the moment. I hacked the Clinton Foundation. And now it jumps around. I hacked the Clinton Foundation server and downloaded hundreds of thousands of docs and donors' databases. Hillary Clinton and her staff don't even bother about the information security. It was just a matter of time to gain access to the Clinton Foundation server. Here's the contents of one of the folders that I got from there. Caucus leases, and I guess you can, well, no, you can't click on those. Okay, caucus leases, caucuses, check requests, contracts, convention 2016 files, coordinated paperwork, DC region 2015-2016, DCCC, donor research and prospecting, dues, emails, expenses, February event, finances from 2030 to 2014, financials, fundraising, HFA, insurance benefit summaries, intern sandbox, large contributions, legal, letterhead, new hire forms, NGP, OFA, PAC fundraisers, pay to play, payroll, and Philadelphia. Then Goosefer adds this: Democrats have been funneling TARP funds into their super PACs. The TARP funds were the funds used on taxpayer bailout money that went into the pockets of Democratic PACs. It looks like big banks and corporations agreed to donate to the Democrats a certain percentage of the allocated TARP funds. A list, this is the same list that was in the other one. So you can go to either one of these URLs and look at this. Wow. I find this absolutely amazing. I'm looking down through this here, and let's see, from the member, I'll just give you an example. A member, DCCC, and the bank was Wells Fargo Bank, and the amount of the TARP funds looks like it is $1 billion, and the amount that they donated back was $30,000. And yet Wells Fargo was just in the news here the other day of ripping off their customers, making phony accounts and charging the customers fees on these accounts they didn't even know they had. Wow. The documents show that the following Democrats funneled your taxpayer money into their PACs: Barney Frank, Carolyn Maloney, Chris Van Hollen, DCCC, James Claiborne, John Larson, Louis Guatris, I guess that's pronounced, Mel Watts, Nancy Pelosi. Do we recognize that name? Paul Kanjorski. Every single one of these Democrats raided the Treasury Department and funneled your money that was used to bail out banks in 2008 into their personal campaign PACs. We need every single patriot that is reading this post to share this right now. This is major news, and will bring down the Clinton Foundation and expose all the crooked Democrats for the frauds that they are. Mainstream media will not show you this. They will try to cover it up. Let's get it to millions of shares and show the world that Hillary Clinton is the biggest crook in political history. Part of this, if you want to go to the next page and read more on it, you can do that at your leisure. I'm going to move on to the next one. This is off of PMTly, printly.com, PRNTLY, and it is about WikiLeaks. WikiLeaks dumps Clinton documents 2 hours before the vice presidential debate when nobody was looking. Trickster, WikiLeaks dumps Clinton documents 2 hours before the vice presidential debate when nobody's looking. Must share. And waiting for the rest of the article to come up here. Poor little hamster. He's working so hard today. It's your treat. Oh my goodness. Okay, get rid of the ads. And we get to the meat. Okay, Goosefer 2.0 praised Julian Assange, better known as the WikiLeaks guy, while dumping all the documents Julian Assange didn't dump last night at 3 a.m. when many people wondered why the hell he gave his speech. Media and Clinton campaign laughed off the 3 a.m. event where Assange ate cake and thanked his fans. Behind the scenes, Guccifer 2.0 began leaking the damning details. The Clintons and media laughed at let down, and I get that should say, and let down their guard, and the WikiLeaks began to unleash hellish documents. In case you don't believe, PRNTLY, which has 98 accuracy track record according to independent analysis. Additional source, InfoWars, and you can click on that link and it'll take you to InfoWars for more information. It says from Guccifer 2.0's home, and there is a link, portal, pointwordpress.com, and some slashes and Clinton Foundation and blah, blah, blah. Says here's the real leak. And I just read you all that information there on all those files that Guccifer got. It says, as you can see, the private server of the Clinton clan contains docs and donor lists of the Democratic committees, PACs, etc. Does it surprise you? Example, small list of donors, and you can click on that link and it'll take you to that list that has all the donors in it, other articles. And there's financial corporations donations with a link that you can go to that and take a look at that stuff. It says, it looks like big banks and corporations agreed to donate the Democrats a certain percentage of the allocated TARP funds. Tim Kaine is debating tonight. Will he discuss it? Well, any of you that's seen the debate, no, it was not discussed. He was too busy interrupting everybody and pointing his finger at the moderator. Here's a link to some other documents. Click on that and it'll take you there. It says, I can't post all databases here for they are too large. I'm looking for a better way to release them now. Keep following. P.S. I'm pleased to congratulate WikiLeaks on their 10th anniversary. Julian, you are really cool. Stay safe and sound. End leak. Though this information has yet to be confirmed based on Guccifer's track record, this may be the real deal. At PRNTLY, to keep the media honest, share this. More links that you can click on that about this mess. So if you want, now I'm going to take you to the next one. This is off of conservativedailypost.com. It is more of the same. One says Assange retaliates back last night, releases entire partnership documents from the board. Reported Tuesday morning that they would be releasing new documents every week leading up to the November 8th election. Actually, I think what he said was the end of the year. It says eligible to claim part of 42.4 billion payout, and you can click on that link to read more about that. And it says with that, they have yet to actually deliver the major blow to the Clinton campaign as they promised, but they have released a document file covering a shady corporate firm in Paris, France, that is linked to both Hillary Clinton and ISIS. Paris struck a partnership with French industrial giant Lafarge, now been exploiting ISIS for profit. Documents indicate that Lafarge paid taxes to ISIS so that they can operate its cement plant in Syria, and they even bought oil from ISIS for many years. Clinton has been connected to Lafarge for decades. She sat on the board of directors and conducted legal business dating back to the 1980s. She is well in tune with this terrorist sponsor. She helped build them into what they are today. In fact, Hillary's connection to Lafarge was exploited when the firm was implicated in facilitating a CIA-backed covert arms work to Saddam Hussein. In 2013, Lafarge's executive vice president for operations, Eric Olson, was a featured attendee at the Clinton Global Initiative annual meeting. Lafarge also frequently donates to the Clinton Foundation, including $100,000 in 2015. Lafarge is also listed again as donor to the Clinton Foundation for the first quarter of 2016. Lafarge has a major connection to Iraq and Saddam Hussein, who at Hillary Clinton. They remain a major beneficiary of disaster capitalism in Iraq, dominating a market where Iraq's infrastructure remains in dire need of hundreds of billions of dollars. Hillary set this apparatus up. Not just an economic juggernaut, they have connected to intelligence community too. Hillary demanded Lafarge oil in the early 2000s, and when they followed their orders, they began to buy oil from shady rebel groups. Lafarge also allowed rebel groups to run other operations and businesses for them, such as their cement industry. In doing so, they funded major portions of ISIS. So when Donald Trump says that she is the co-founder of ISIS, he is absolutely correct. It's proved she sat on the board that directed millions of dollars to ISIS. What other examples would someone need to prove she helped found ISIS? Hillary has created partnerships with dozens of other terrorist sponsors too. When she was Secretary of State, a majority of her highest donors came from Muslim countries that fund and sponsor terrorism. An investigative report by the French daily Le Monde revealed in June of 2016 that Lafarge, the world's leader in construction materials, had also paid taxes to ISIS middlemen, as well as other armed groups in Syria, to protect its cement business operations in the country while Hillary was Secretary of State. It also to remember that ISIS attacked Paris, France in 2015. They set off bombs that killed 130 people and injured 368. Funded a group that carried out a major terrorist attack against them in their city. Hillary actually sat on the board that funded ISIS, and WikiLeaks just proved that. Concern is her global takeover is making its way to the United States. Hillary has promoted so many terrorist organizations for personal gain. They are all trying to infiltrate the United States now. Countries are also pushing her to do more for Muslims. They are demanding Hillary allow more refugees into the United States in return for them funding her campaign and foundation. Why else has she called for more than 110,000 refugees annually? We cannot sit around any longer. We must continue to ask questions and expose this woman for the corrupt fraud she is. Rise up and win this election. We will never be the land of the free and the home of the brave again. She will strip this country of everything that made it great. Do your part, and we can take down Clinton and her cartel for good. The article reads, what is coming to my mind is, okay, Russia is fighting ISIS. They've asked us to fight ISIS, and our government laughed at them and said no. Their embassy, and now Russia is preparing for war, and apparently they are preparing for nuclear war by the looks of things, sending people, or what was it, 400 million people underground and getting all of their emergency stuff ready to rock. So if they're fighting ISIS and we're funding ISIS, they're fighting us. It amounts to. So anybody that hasn't woke up yet, hello, you better pay attention. Move on to the next one here. James Fetzer, blogspot.com. Hillary emails gave information for the location of Ambassador Chris Stevens. Remember Chris Stevens? Remember Benghazi? It says publication American Journal Review published another batch of Hillary Clinton's exposures associated with its work in the U.S. Department of State. Hillary Clinton has just destroyed sensational hacking, email documents, and leaks, and now it is waiting for a new exposure. In the published email relevant to investigate the events in Benghazi contained information that reveals the exact location of Ambassador Chris Stevens. Since these messages are sent over an unprotected server, it is likely that they intercepted the terrorists. Here are 5 emails in the mail Clinton who threatened the security of Ambassador Stevens. March the 23rd of 2011. This one reads, In the letter, Clinton Chief of Staff Jacob Sullivan informed her about the NATO mission in Libya. Sullivan also wrote a bill trying to ascertain whether Chris Stevens arrived in Libya to the embassy. March the 27th of 2011. Talks between representative of the State Department, Clinton redirected relates to its location and movement plans. The report said in the current plans of Mr. Stevens to arrive no later than Wednesday from Malta to Benghazi, he's going to take a one-day visit during which sort out the situation on the ground. The purpose of this day trip to lay the foundation for further stays of 30 days. April the 8th, 2011. Communication between the staff of the State Department, Clinton letter addressed, which says the situation remains calm in Benghazi. Chris Stevens and his team at the hotel leave only for appointments. April 10, 2011, another correspondence between the employees of the State Department, Clinton redirected letter. The situation in Ajibia has deteriorated to the point that Stevens thinks to leave Benghazi. Envoy representatives is currently taking steps to evacuate. April 24th, 2011, the last communication between the representative of State Department Clinton sent Stevens hours, Clinton sent Stevens hour meeting with representatives of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and intends to make a written request to strengthen security measures in the hotel, as well as improved coordination on this issue. He is comfortable in the hotel. They think to move into the mansion, but it is far to go, it says. Read the message carefully. At the bottom, it begins with Hillary writing in the subject line, Chris Smith. Yes, Chris Smith, one of Americans who have been killed. But it shows that the wrong name was preserved in emails. No, it's not corrected. And hardly anyone would argue that the current situation was indifferent to them. Otherwise, if they really cared, you would never have disclosed his whereabouts 5 times in unprotected messages. Clinton argues that deeply touched by the death of the U.S. ambassador, but she cannot even remember his name. Clinton allowed events to happen in Benghazi. She was at risk of their incompetence, and that it needs to be to blame for the fact that the ambassador was unable to return home to his family. And then there's an email here, but it's in such small print that I can't read it. That says, featured posts only some of the series of letters that reveal the whereabouts of Ambassador Stevens and are available to anyone capable of crack unprotected mail server Hillary Clinton. What? According to the FBI, it was not so difficult to do. It is possible that these letters were intercepted and Hillary's repeatedly betrayed Americans. She betrayed them, refusing to provide necessary at a time when they requested it. That night, for 13 hours, Clinton had not responded to their request for help, and she still does not admit that held up the Americans under attack. They were and are indifferent to it, but we do not. Hillary Clinton has been destroyed with email hacks and document leaks for nearly 2 months now, and she will be waking up this morning to another one. In an email released Monday regarding Hillary's Benghazi investigation, there was one specific message that detailed the exact location of Ambassador Chris Stevens. Because this email was sent through unsecured server, it is highly probable that terrorists intercepted the message. There were 5 relevant emails in the cache of Clinton emails that placed Ambassador Stevens in harm's way. March 23rd, 2011, in this email, Clinton, then Chief of Staff Jacob Sullivan, wrote to Clinton about the NATO mission in Libya. Sullivan also wrote that someone named Bill was trying to make sure Chris Stevens gets into East Libya. March 27, 2011. This is an email between 2 State Department officials that was then forwarded to Clinton regarding his location and travel plans. The email said, the current game plan is for Mr. Stevens to move no later than Wednesday from Malta to Benghazi. He will stage offshore initially for a one-day visit during which he will have meetings with TNC interlocutors of the situation on the ground. The goal of this one-day trip is for him to lay the groundwork for a stay of up to 30 days. April the 8th, 2011, an email among State Department employees to Clinton said security situation in Benghazi remains quiet. Chris Stevens and team are in a hotel, moving only for meetings required. April 10th, 2011, another email among State Department employees later forwarded to Clinton said the situation in Ajba has worsened to the point where Stevens is considering departure from Benghazi. The envoy's delegation is currently doing a phased checkout. April 24th, 2011, a final email among State Department employees later forwarded Clinton. Stevens will be meeting with the MFA in 1 hour and will make a written request for better security at the hotel and for better security related coordination. He still feels comfortable in the hotel. They're looking into the idea of moving into the villa, but that is some way off. Read the email closely, which, I mean, they already covered this part. I'm trying to scroll down here. It says the email above are from chain of emails that reveal Ambassador Stevens' location, readily available to anyone who could hack Hillary's unsecured email server. So there you have that information on Benghazi. I mean, you know, she knew all along. She let those people die over there. Didn't send them any help. She sent them to their death using an unsecured server, putting emails out with their location in it that can be hacked. But she doesn't recall and says, I do not understand how anybody can back this woman. Okay, virtualliberty.com. WTF, Hillary Clinton just endorsed Mike Pence. She just forgot her own running mate. I mean, this is how brain damaged this woman is. Hillary Clinton has been full of lies and scandals throughout the campaign, and it seems for years and years, the lies don't seem to be stopping anytime soon either. So, brought into question after she suffered several extended coughing spells and took a long break from her campaign trail, as well as the infamous fainting episode at the 9/11 memorial. Must be suffering from something other than pneumonia after what she said about Mike Pence. There's no way she would say this with a sound mind. They endorsed Mike Pence after the debate last night. I can't make this up. And she said, this is what she said: if Trump's decisiveness in choosing Mike Pence as his running mate, he'll be great at making hard decisions as president. Unquote. His decisiveness in choosing Mike Pence turned out to be very good because Mike Pence mopped the floor with Tim Kaine at the vice presidential debate last night. All Tim Kaine could do was try to squabble over Mike Pence and interrupt him 72 times. That's ridiculous. And the fact that the moderator allowed Kaine to talk out of turn so much points to their lack of control of the debate, or that there was something much bigger at play. No matter, though, because Mike Pence handedly won the debate, and even CNN's polls say so, meaning they couldn't even skew the results in Tim Kaine's favor. The tweet that Hillary endorsed Mike Pence is absolutely ridiculous, and that she still hasn't realized that she said Mike Pence was a good choice and called Donald Trump a good decision maker under the pressure points to her lack of awareness. Donald Trump would never make the mistake of endorsing his opponents because they are crooked and he isn't suffering from serious medical issues. Serious. Can't be trusted to even tweet correctly. How can she be trusted to run this country? Please share this everywhere to let everyone know that Hillary supports Trump and Pence. Oh my. The next one we have here is off BizPack Review. The UN just made a power play against Donald Trump. Foreign governments made a move to tie the hands of Donald Trump if he were to win the presidency in November. On Tuesday, the European Union opted to join the Paris Climate Agreement, thus ratifying the deal that requires the United States to reduce its emissions 26% to 28% by 2025. The deal begins in 30 days, which means a potential President Trump could not change or negotiate it. What he can do if he chooses is straight ignore it, as the agreement is non-binding. The deal was not expected to be ratified until next year, but many believe Trump's opinion of the deal caused the world leaders to act quickly, the Hill reported. His threat stimulated this rapid series of ratifications: China, the USA, Europe, and many others. Harvard Project on Climate Agreements Director Robert in an email to the Hill. They want to be on the right side of the issue, and I believe that Trump showed the world that that isn't a foregone conclusion. John Corkett, who is the Global Climate Policy Director at the Sierra Club, said. Corkett noted that Trump could become one of the only world leaders to not believe in climate change if he is elected. I think having that idea out there that the world is still debating this in some way, I think puts pressure on countries to act quickly to solidify the process and continue to move forward, he said. Many experts believe the ratification of the deal has backed Trump into a corner, but others contend that there wouldn't be a lot of other nations could do to force him to meet President Obama's agreement, an agreement Trump has been against since its inception. If you control the presidency, then you can exert a huge amount of power. Competitive Enterprise Institute senior fellow William Yeatman said, you can basically not implement your commitments and you're not going to suffer anything on the world stage. So that's how the UN is trying to manipulate things. The next one we have here is off of financeyahoo.com, and it says, watch an Iranian-backed militia's missile strike that prompted U.S. destroyers to head to Yemen. The HSV Swift, formerly of the U.S. Navy, now serving the UAE, U.S. Navy photo is above in this if you want to see the picture of this ship. And it says, on Saturday, a guided missile struck the United Arab Emirates HSV Swift, a high-speed ferry formerly operated by the U.S. Navy off the coast of Yemen, prompting the U.S. to respond with 2 guided missile destroyers and an amphibious transport dock ship from the USS Dwight D. Eisenhower Carrier Strike Group. Fox News reports. Rockets targeted an Emirate warship as it approached the coast of Mocha on Yemen's western coast. Yemen's Iranian-supported Houthi fighters said in a statement reported by the Al Jazeera, I guess it is. It was completely destroyed, the Hafiz said. The UAE has fought against the Houthi militants since last year as part of the Saudi-led coalition. A video released online shows the Swift, a catamaran-style transport ship of U.S. design, a rocket launching, hitting the ship and causing a sustained fire on the water as those near the camera cheer. And I'm sorry, the Emirati military confirmed that an incident occurred at sea while the ship was on a routine trip from Aden, Yemen, but it did not mention any injuries or death. The U.S. ships, USS Nintz, USS Mason, and USS Ponce have headed to the Bab el Strait that links the Red Sea to the Gulf of Aden. And there's a map in this if you want to take a look at the map and see where all this is situated over there for your geography. Says the Yemen government controls the majority of the country, but the Houthis control almost all of western coast where the incident took place, according to Reuters. According to the U.S. Naval Institute, reports indicate the weapons used could have been Chinese-built C-820 anti-ship missiles or guided anti-tank weapons. The attack is believed to be related to the ongoing conflict in Yemen and not an attack against the general shipping. U.S. Naval Forces Central Command has ships in the area and is working closely with our allies and regional partners to ensure the free flow of commerce, a defense official told USNI News. Shipping lanes and commerce are especially vital to Yemen, where the UN has said that 21 million out of 28 million Yemenis need some form of humanitarian aid, and that half the country is likely malnourished. Let's see, if the missile that hit the Swift was indeed a cruise missile, it marks an escalation in hostilities and arms use in the conflict. Ships headed to Yemen can destroy incoming cruise missiles. Iran has shown time and time again it is not afraid to harass and threaten the U.S. Navy at sea. Iran has military ties to Russia and China, both of whom produce capable cruise and anti-ship missiles, and Iran has been known to provide weapons to the Houthi militants in Yemen. And there is a video in this if you want to take a look at the video at your leisure. Show you a little more about this. The next one that we have here was surprising to me. You all may have known this. I'm always the last to know anything, but we'll see. It says here that this is off of Revos .2040. It says Mark Zuckerberg is David Rockefeller's grandson. I thought everyone knew. Did you? Well, no, I didn't know. Apparently, his real name is Jacob Greenberg, and he's the grandson of David Rockefeller. It says, still think Facebook was started by a bored, no-name college student. Facebook of late, and the most recent bans blocking censorship. I thought I'd add my 2 cents and perhaps let people know a bit more about this lad. You know, when this guy popped on the scene, I was curious how he could do such a big startup, so I checked him out. The change of name is, I am sure, deliberate to hide who he is, as well as his arrest for pot. It doesn't mean anything to me. I was just curious, and now with all this new nonsense, I wanted to see if anyone else knew this. On Facebook belongs to Mark Zuckerberg, the alleged homosexual from upstate New York. But what is the most important is that his grandfather is the 100-year-old David Rockefeller. You know, the one from Trilateral Commission, the Bilderberg Group, owner of Chase Manhattan Bank, Council on Foreign Relations. You need this guy's bio. 2 of the NWO planners, the likes of Henry Kissinger, who refer to us as useless eaters, implicated in Kennedy assassination. Board of directors of Exxon, JP Morgan Chase. This guy is friends with every piece of trash that wants us all dead. And then we have his son, David, whose son is Mark Zuckerberg, whose net worth is estimated at $35.7 billion. Sick yet? Why he has a different name, I have no idea. A search does not reveal the names of his parents. It does list his wife, Priscilla Chan, sold with bags full of money, and the son of David Rockefeller. I have known this for a long time, and I just assumed everyone else knew. So if you did, forgive me, it should make a few balls fall into place. So there you have that. I mean, it goes on, tells far more about it if you want to read the rest of it. Holy smoke. No. But it does make sense. This one is off of Circa, circa.com politics. Okay. It says, starting Monday, the military begins paying for gender reassignment surgery for soldiers. And starting Monday, the military begins paying for gender reassignment surgery for soldiers. Starting today, the U.S. military will pay for gender reassignment surgeries for transgender soldiers, a program that could cost up to $8.4 million a year. The Defense Department's policy states that if a soldier's ability to serve is adversely affected by medical condition or medical treatment related to their gender identity, they are eligible for reassignment surgery or hormone therapy, subject to a commander's approval for the timing. How many people does this cover? By the Rand Corporation's estimate in June of 2016 study, there are between 1,320 and 6,630 transgender troops on active duty. Of those, between 30 and 140 would prefer hormone treatment, and 25 to 130 would seek surgery. The surgery will either be conducted in a military hospital or private hospital if the former lacks the qualified care, USA Today reports. Those in the military who oppose the policy argue that since gender reassignment surgery makes it impossible for soldiers to deploy for up to 135 days, the money spent on the surgery could be better used elsewhere. And there's a quote here. It says, I think this is a gross misuse of military medical dollars, says John Cruz, Chaplain Alliance for Religious Liberty. Ron Cruz, executive director of the Chaplain Alliance for Religious Liberty, said military personnel are also getting transgender education, which takes valuable time. However, the Palm Center, BT Armed Forces Group, welcomed the move. Aaron Belkin, director of the center, said surgery could reduce the number of suicides amongst transgender troops. The military continued progress in integrating transgender service members is a tribute to core principles and values, says Aaron Belkin, director of the Palm Center. Private First Class Chelsea Manning, currently imprisoned for leaking state secrets, was assured in September she would have her gender reassigned surgery paid for. In this, if you'd like to take the poll says, should the government cover the cost of soldiers' reassignment surgery? And the first choice is yes, absolutely. The second choice is maybe partially, but not the whole cost. And the third option is nope, that's not what the military is for. So if you want to participate in that poll, you're welcome to do so. The next one, .com. It says Texas store employee uses an AK-47 to stop 4 armed robbers. An employee of a jewelry store in Conroe, Texas, pulled an AK-47 from behind the counter to stop 4 would-be armed robbers. One of the armed robbers opened fire and multiple employees returned fire, killing the suspect. Jr., owner of Jeff's jewelry store in Conroe, told police that 4 men entered his store and demanded jewelry, purses, and other items. At least one of the robbers displayed a firearm, according to Montgomery County Police reporter Scott. One of Turner's employees responded by pulling an AK-47 semi-automatic rifle from behind the counter, fired at the store employees, and a firefight ensued. At least 3 employees weapons at the robbery suspects. The suspect who began shooting was struck and killed in the gunfight. The other 3 suspects escaped in a white Dodge Charger, not far from the scene of the robbery. The suspects attempt had abandoned the car and remain at large, Engel reported. Police have not yet released the identity of the deceased suspect. The robbery took place on Monday afternoon at about 12:30 p.m. Turner's attorney, E. Tay Bond, spoke with Conroe Courier Catherine Dominguez. To defend yourself, especially when a robber shoots at you. Turner keeps an AK-47 in the store for defensive purposes. The AK-47 rifle is manufactured in both automatic and semi-automatic models. In a semi-automatic weapon, you must pull the trigger each time you want to fire. An automatic weapon will fire as long as you hold the trigger until you run out of ammo. Conroe Police Department Lieutenant Dorsey McGingus told the Conroe newspaper there was a lot of gunfire. She reported the store's windows were broken out from the bullet spray. Texas Castle doctrine laws allow a business owner or employee to have a weapon and to use that weapon to protect their life and the lives of others. Turner's store had previously been robbed in 2014 when a group of men smashed through the glass door with a sledgehammer. At the time, Dominguez reported one of the employees grabbed a shotgun and the would-be robbers said, "They've got guns. Let's get out of here." The store employees were able to successfully stop the robbery and protect the lives of other employees and customers who were threatened by the armed gunman. A search for the suspects, which included support from Drug Enforcement Agency helicopter, was not successful, and the police manhunt continues. It has not been reported if any of the other suspects were injured in the hail of gunfire. So that's what happens when you misbehave. The next one we have here, this is from foxnews.com, and this is about the Oregon deal. Ammon Bundy takes a stand in Oregon Wildlife Refuge standoff trial. He was on the stand, let's see, this is Thursday. He was on the stand Tuesday afternoon and yesterday morning. I guess most of the day yesterday. It says the leader of an armed takeover of National Wildlife Refuge took the witness stand in his own defense, tearfully telling jurors he was initially reluctant to get involved in the plight of two Oregon ranchers ordered to return to prison. Ammon Bundy, age 41, of Emmett, Idaho, wore blue jail scrubs Tuesday afternoon and had a copy of the U.S. Constitution in his front pocket. He has rejected the option of civilian clothes, contending he's a political prisoner. When asked where he lives, he told the court, Monmouth County Jail, maximum security. The testimony quickly got more serious. Bundy testifies he knew nothing about the Rangers' Dwight Stephen Hammond until his father, Cliven Bundy, asked if he was aware of their situation. What's happening to them is the same thing that happened to us, Bundy recalled his father saying, referring to the family's long fight with the government over federal lands and grazing fees, highlighted by a 2014 armed standoff with federal agents at Cliven Bundy's ranch near Bunkerville, Nevada. I told him, Dad, I can't fight another battle. We're doing the best we can to keep our family from going to prison, Bundy said. Bundy said that changed early November 2015 when he clicked on an article about the Hammonds and became consumed by their case. He told the court he had an overwhelming feeling it was just my duty to get involved and protect this family, unquote. Within days, he traveled to Harney County to meet the Hammonds and unsuccessfully press a local sheriff to shield them from federal authorities. The Hammonds were convicted of an arson charge that carries a minimum prison sentence of 5 years. Federal judge on the last day before retirement decided it was too stiff and gave the men a much lighter penalty. Prosecutors won an appeal and the Hammonds returned to prison January 4th to complete the mandatory minimum. Bundy and 6 co-defendants, one of them is his brother Ryan, are charged with conspiring to impede Interior Department employees from doing their jobs during the 41-day occupation of the Malheur National Wildlife Refuge. The occupation began shortly after January 2nd. Rally in support of the Hammonds and a wider call for the government to relinquish control of the refuge and other Western lands. Bundy and his followers believe federal government does not have the right to own land within a state, exempt for and only if it gets consent from the state and purchases the property. Though she allowed Bundy to describe his beliefs, U.S. District Court Judge Anna Brown limited narrative lectures on land policy, saying it's not relevant to the criminal case. Bundy's attorney, Markham Mumford, then about the Bunkerville standoff. He played a video of his client getting shot 3 times with a stun gun as protesters clashed with federal agents near Cliven Bundy's ranch. Mumford asked Bundy why he kept coming back for more after getting shocked by the taser. Their actions were way out of line, he said. The judge reminded jurors that they were not deciding the merits of Bunkerville standoff, only its effect on Bundy's state of mind and if it played a role in his decision to occupy the federal land in Oregon. Bundy about such a connection, it's definitely a piece of it, Bundy said. Bundy and his father are both facing charges from Bunkerville standoff and are scheduled to be tried in 2017. Bundy is expected to return to the witness stand on Wednesday. And I don't have an update on that right now, but there you have that information. That we have. I know that there's other folks out there at these shows that really are irritated by people like me that keep bringing this up. But hey, you know, I don't think that we can warn people about this enough. This is off of WBBJ TV, and it says, of consequences to come from clown pranks. Now, I'm trying to tell you people, do not be putting on your clown outfits and running up and down the streets and acting up, because this is what can happen. It's out of Jackson, Tennessee. Law enforcement agencies across the U.S. are warning against a scary prank sweeping the nation after several sightings of clowns have been reported on the East Coast, as well as several here in West Tennessee. What we would do is encourage people who want to dress up like a clown. Think about it before you do it, Madison County Sheriff John Mayer said. Sheriff Mayer said they have received reports of clowns here in Madison County, but they've turned out to be false. We had one the other day at Three-Way, and there was a guy who was there, and he was actually there in a group. Mayer said people didn't know he was actually part of the group, but he was. This Halloween season, the Madison County Sheriff's Department said this is no joking matter. If someone reports one and we have to go out and spend a lot of time and start looking and find out it's false report and we're able to make a case, then they will be charged with it, Mayer said. He said this is spoiling Halloween for kids. Don't spoil it for the kids going out there. Just try to get attention, Mayer said. It's like Colby Russell. I just don't like people doing this because there's kids around and it's just really bad for this. And there's schools everywhere. It's just horrible. It really is, Russell said. He says this year his Halloween plans will be uneventful. I'm going to stay home and do whatever, Russell said. I mean, we have to avoid enough clowns in our daily lives without people actually dressing up like one and going out there and trying to do something scary. You're going to get shot or run over or beat to death or something. Just stop. Holy smoke. The next one that we have, this will be a screen share. This is your feel good for the day. And this is a short little video that I think you'll enjoy. So I'm going to try to do the screen share here for you. You'll enjoy this. And we'll get this made up big and play it.
Toy is not just a source of entertainment, it's the first education for a child. I have been running Toy Bank for the past 10 years and it has grown so much that I had to quit my job to do this full time to give it my full energy to make sure that every child in India is given a toy to play with, is given a toy to learn with. When we set up Toy Bank, there was no digital age, there was no social media, so it was very difficult for us to reach out to people. Convince people to set up boxes outside their restaurants, outside their shops, and some people will not even allow us to do it there. We had to really convince schools to run this because that time this concept of sharing was not so prevalent in schools. Women are inherently more sensitive than men. They would be able to connect with people faster, whether it is engaging with NGOs or working directly with children, because we do a lot of life skills workshop with kids. We donate toys to. We also make sure we don't send any toys which create any kind of violence. We don't send out any boxing gloves or anything until and unless it's sent to an institute which will train them to do boxing. So we make sure that kids will only learn from those toys.
Okay, there's that. I thought you would enjoy that one, and we'll try to get this shut down here so it don't play. There we go. I mean, there's a lot of children here in the United States that don't have toys to play with, that are homeless, that come from poor families, and the holidays are coming. And this video just really struck me. Folks out there that say, well, I'd like to do something nice for folks, but I just don't know what to do. Well, okay, how about this? Most communities have what they call a sharing program or a Christmas angel program. They call it a lot of different things depending on where you're from. And you can go and card that has a family on it, and you can adopt them for the holidays and get presents for the family. There's folks that go to places like Walmart or Target or a lot of these different stores and pay for somebody's layaways. they can't even afford layaways, and if you can contact the schools or the churches local and find out, is there a family that is financially challenged in your organization or in your group that, I could do something nice for with the holidays coming up. Thanksgiving's coming up. A lot of people can't afford to do Thanksgiving dinners. A lot of people that live alone, it's not going to have any family or anybody to be with for the holidays. Maybe you could open your home up to them or go visit them or something for the holidays. There's a lot of nice things that we can do for people. Say, well, I'd like to do something, I just don't know what I could do and all that. Look for something. Lord have mercy. I remember when I was a little kid, if I was to sit around and say that I was bored, my mother would take care of that in a heartbeat. I wouldn't be bored for long. I learned to find something to do. So you need to find something to do. And with that, we're going to turn you loose for today. And the first thing I want you to do is go out, kick off your shoes, put your feet in the grass, take a deep breath of fresh air, ground and balance yourself, and then we'll see you back tomorrow. Bye.